This incredible image of the Triangulum Galaxy, or M33, was taken by the European Southern Observatory's 50-foot-long telescope in Chile. This galaxy is famous for its massive, red hydrogen nebulas. This nebula, called NGC 604, is so big that you can see its shape and structure. It's perhaps our best view yet of an extragalactic nebula. It doesn't take a massive observatory to capture this. Us amateurs can do it too, and in this video, I'll be trying to image this extragalactic nebula for myself, using my own camera and telescope. To give myself the best chance at capturing it, I'm getting away from my light-polluted skies by spending a night at a dark sky site in West Virginia. It'll be one unforgettable night of astrophotography from an incredible location in search of this extragalactic nebula. The idea of photographing a nebula in another galaxy altogether is just so fascinating to me. To give you a sense for just how big this thing is, let's compare it to one of the brightest nebulas in our night sky, the Orion Nebula, which is so bright that you can even see it with just a pair of binoculars. Let's pretend for a moment that the Orion Nebula, instead of being in our own Milky Way, was inside the Triangulum Galaxy seen here. The Orion Nebula is about 24 light-years across, while this galaxy is over 60,000 light-years wide. 24 light-years is still incredibly big, but if the Orion Nebula was in this picture here, it probably wouldn't even be visible at all. On the other hand, this extragalactic nebula is more than 40 times bigger, at over 1,500 light-years across. That's more than 2% the width of this entire galaxy, which means that not only is it visible in this image, but we can actually see some detail inside of it. This nebula is absolutely massive, and I really want to image it for myself. Here's the equipment I'll be using to do this. On top of my Star Adventurer GTI mount is my Redcat 51 refractor telescope, as well as my deep sky astronomy camera. This is a smaller telescope, but actually that's okay. The Triangulum Galaxy is pretty close to us, and it takes up over 4 full moons worth of space in our night sky. So this is a pretty good target for my setup, but the real challenge will be how much detail will I actually be able to reveal inside of this extragalactic nebula. This would be a lot harder to do from here in my suburban location, which is why I'm about to escape the light pollution by spending a night at one of my favorite dark sky sites in West Virginia to give myself the best chance at capturing this nebula. This time of year, the Triangulum Galaxy doesn't rise until after midnight, so I'll be spending the first few hours of the night imaging a famous nebula a bit closer to home here in our own Milky Way, which I'll talk a bit more about when I get down to West Virginia. Then, once M33 rises, I'll switch over to imaging that. Hopefully it'll give you a good look at two different nebulas, one that's inside and one that's outside of our own galaxy. Now it's time to pack everything up and get on the road. Welcome to Calhoun County Park, West Virginia, the darkest location I've ever shot from. You might remember that I was here for the first time back in February when I pitched a tent and camped out on the field. This time I'm renting their Stargazer's cabin. This cabin is really nice. We have a kitchen and a living room on this side, and then a bedroom and bathroom over here, and some loft beds up here if you're bringing more than one person. It even has these interior red lights you can switch on so you don't bother the other astronomers out on the field. After getting everything set up, all that's left to do is wait for sunset. It's officially dark outside now, and the Milky Way is absolutely incredible overhead. Let's step outside for a moment, and then I think you'll really see just how amazing this view is. This time-lapse was captured using my iPhone. I had another camera running to capture the Milky Way. This is what it saw. Underneath this incredible view, and with a few hours until the Triangulum Galaxy rises, it's time to image our first target of the night, the North American Nebula, a bright emission nebula a few thousand light-years away in the constellation Cygnus. This is a single 3-minute exposure. After stacking 2 hours worth of photos, here is my final image. It's a beautiful region of dust and gas that gets its name from its resemblance to the continent of North America. Shortly past midnight, once it's risen high enough in the sky, I give my telescope the command to point itself over 2.7 million light-years away at M33, the Triangulum Galaxy, and the nebula that lies within it. Here is a single 3-minute exposure of this galaxy. I capture about 2.5 hours worth of exposures before calling it a night. The final image will be processed when I get back home. Okay, I'm back home now. What an awesome night it was. If you've never been to a true dark sky site before, you really should make a plan to go to one. Especially this time of year here in the Northern Hemisphere, the Milky Way is just absolutely beautiful overhead. You really can't ask for a much better view than that while doing some astrophotography. I've taken the time to process the 2.5 hours worth of exposures that I took of the Triangulum Galaxy. Here's my final image. I am really happy with how this one turned out. This might be my favorite galaxy photo that I've ever taken. Now the question is, was I able to capture this extragalactic nebula? And at first I wasn't so sure. I wasn't seeing the red spot in the galaxy where the nebula should be. But then I zoomed in on the galaxy, and right there near the top is NGC 604. I actually managed to reveal this extragalactic nebula for myself. This small patch of red is actually a giant nebula that's inside of another galaxy. Think of it as a way bigger, way brighter version of the North American nebula that we saw earlier. So big and so bright that we can see it inside of another galaxy that's over 2.5 million light-years away. Being able to capture this extragalactic nebula for myself really makes this image extra special for me. And what an awesome way to cap off my trip to West Virginia. If you enjoyed this video, then the best thing you can do to support this channel is to subscribe. I have more trips to dark sky sites lined up for the future, and I plan on taking you along with me every step of the way. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, clear skies.